All right, so let's talk about our class materials in this video because it can be a little confusing for people, and I want to show you how I buy cameras and how I think you should probably buy cameras, which is for very cheap and probably on eBay, to be honest. So in the syllabus, I talk about a necessary camera in this class. So there's sort of almost like two cameras that you really need. You can check these out from me, but they really only work if you're on campus and only under certain circumstances. So I'm just making you aware of that. If you're not on campus, you probably will need to either buy or borrow a camera. So the best thing is just that the camera needs to be at least 8 megapixels. Sorry, my cat's yelling if you can hear him in the background. Camera needs to be at least 8 megapixels, which is not a lot. And it needs to shoot RAW, and it needs to have manual settings, okay? I'm on Amazon right now. I'm going to show you an example of this. Let's look at a Canon DSLR camera. Okay, so DSLR basically means there's a mirror in the back of the camera. Whenever you shoot the camera, the mirror flips up and light hits the sensor and exposes it. We'll go into more detail on what that actually means. But if I just search Canon DSLR, there's a ton of options that appear. A T7 right here, which is a huge kit that comes with a bunch of things, right? It comes with multiple SD cards, macro adapters, a tripod, all this stuff for 460 bucks. It's a really good deal. So right here, important details. The Canon Rebel, I'm going to zoom in here, has 24.1 megapixels, okay? That is the number that I care about. I don't care about APS-C. I don't care if it's, full frame, whatever, all these other things you might know. I care about that number right here, 24.1 megapixels. Is that more than 8? Yes, that's fine. Okay. So this comes with a bunch of lenses. This is a great kit. For 460 bucks, that's awesome. Good price. All right, that's one example. Here's another one. Here's a 2000D, which is the same as Rebel T7 for 400 bucks, different kind of kit. All right, let's say instead of Canon, we search Olympus. Okay, an Olympus DSLR. Oh, look at this, an OMD EM10 Mark III. Now, this is not a DSLR. This is technically a mirrorless camera. I love Olympus mirrorless cameras. How many megapixels is this? 16 megapixel. All right, we're good. Let's search, let's do Sony DSLR. I don't even think they make a DSLR anymore. I think they only make mirrorless. Yes, they do. So here's an A7 III. If you have a lot of money to spend, $2,000, you could buy that. Here's an A6000. This is a mirrorless camera. It's pretty cheap, 700 bucks. And that's with 2 lenses, and these 2 lenses cover basically the entire visual spectrum that you would really need. How many megapixels is it? Let's take a look. It's 24 megapixels, and we're good to go. So some of you are probably like, cool, I'm not in this class to spend several $100s on a camera. I want to spend as little as possible on a camera, and I totally understand that, and that is not a problem, and we will be able to do that in this class. I'm going to show you how. I'm going to open up Safari. I'm going to go to eBay, and on eBay, whoops, I just searched eBay instead of actually going to it. Let's find some cheapo cameras. I always recommend the early Olympus cameras are still really solid and really ridiculously cheap. I could get an Olympus EPL series camera, like a PL8, PL9. Let's see how much a PL8 is these days. PL8's 300 bucks. All right, for nice lens, nice camera. I love this camera. It's one of my favorite cameras. Great mirrorless small body camera. PL7 is probably even a little bit cheaper, and so on. You could go all the way down to a PL1. Now that's a pretty old camera. You get it for under 100 bucks. It's 12 megapixels. It's good enough. You'll shoot some beautiful stuff. Is it going to be, the end-all be-all camera? No, but it's under 100 bucks. So that's my recommendation. Use eBay. I would not, if you're going for cheap, I would not use Amazon. Amazon sucks for this kind of thing. I would use eBay or Craigslist or whatever you got. Probably in these days, I would use eBay. So an Olympus EPL1, you can get a cheap Nikon like D3500. Is a affordable. It's a 400 buck camera. It's amazing. You can go cheaper than that. You can get a D. What is it? A 5600, I think, is the cheaper one. Could be wrong on that. That's about the same. Um, you could get old Nikon DSLR cameras. You could hunt around for stuff that's like, here we go, a D5300 that's $190 bid. Here's a D3100. That's a much older camera, but it's 14 megapixels. It'll work just fine. $170. Here's a D80. Now that's pretty old. Once you start getting to like D80s and stuff like that, you really want to take a look. I think D80s are probably about 8 megapixels, something like that. They are pretty old. That's 10 megapixels. That is still a very old camera. Again, I hesitate to recommend $75 camera. I think you could do better with something like an Olympus. Again, I really like the Olympus cameras. They're super cheap. Some of the good, like if you're interested in doing video, Panasonic GH5 is pretty much the best video and picture camera you can buy. It is expensive, it's going to be $700, $800 without a lens, and then with lenses it's going to be more. But that's my recommendation. So as far as the other material, which is a 35mm or a 120 film camera, okay? This is for shooting analog black and white film, which I really think is a lovely medium. There's a couple of options. One is what's called a Holga 120 camera. And a Holga is like this cheap, like $35 to $40 camera. It comes with film, and it's plastic, and it sucks. And it's amazing, and it shoots beautiful things. Definitely recommend it. They're fun. It's called a toy camera, and it really does fit that name because it's basically a giant hunk of plastic. Highly recommended if you just want something really cheap. A great website to check out is Lomography. Lomography has a whole kind of collection of cheap toy cameras. I'm a toy camera collector, so I have a lot of them at my house, and you can spend a lot on toy cameras. But you can also spend very, very little. Mini Dianas and the Diana are both great cameras that are inexpensive. You can get just about anything. You can get really simple, disposables, things like that. Again, Diana, amazing camera. Please don't buy an instant camera. Make sure it says 35mm or 120. It says that in your syllabus. So anyways, if you're looking to spend a little bit more on a manual camera, like on an analog camera, then I would go with a Canon AE1 or the Canon AE1 program, which, in my opinion, these are, the best for your money you can possibly buy. Cheap lenses, beautiful cameras. They're all metal bodies. They're heavy. They're nice. $200. You can also get cheaper SLR cameras for 35mm film. If you just search around for like SLR camera, you'll find some. So anyways, there's lots and lots of options. Oh, I'll show you another one of my favorites. One of my favorite 35mm cameras is the Canon Rebel G. There's a Rebel G and a Rebel G 2000. They're super cheap. As you can see the price here. They're like basically nothing. And they are incredible cameras. Absolutely stunning. I've shot tons of things on them. They're all plastic, but they have an auto winder. They take some special batteries and stuff. You don't need to worry about buying one of these until later in the semester. Again, they're pretty cheap. And you can check out things from me, but just be aware that like it may severely restrict your class, and you have to be on campus to check those things out. Okay, so that's basically the materials. The other material that you need to buy is Ilford 35mm film. You can get 5 rolls of film, which is what I ask you to get, for $35. It's basically nothing, and that's my recommendation. Buy it in bulk. You can split it with another person. Let's wait on that a little bit. We may not be able to do film, so don't buy the film yet. We may not be able to do film until later in the semester, depending on some renovations that are happening in the darkroom. So those are your materials for the class. Just spend some time looking through that and deciding whether or not you want to buy a camera right now. If you need further recommendations, just shoot me a message or send me a Flipgrid video, and I'm happy to answer that.